I was thinking, like, if I could just have $5,000, if we could set that aside, I think I could start something, and we'll call it Wisdom House, named after the street that we live on, Wisdom Street.
Okay.
There you go.
And
So at this point, she's like, Lee, remember when you came and asked about that $1,500 to start the escape rooms?
Hey, this is Shay.
And this is Carrie,
Welcome to the Pocket Change Podcast.
where you'll learn better ways to spend, save, and invest and take control of your financial journey.
Carrie, do you know what this smells like? You recognize this smell?
I think it smells like a champion.
Yeah.
It says be a champion.
It does. And it smells like, if you've ever walked into Leaders,
Our branches. That's right.
Our brand scent that we have.
Yeah.
So these candles are handmade here by our guests that we're having on the podcast in Jackson. So we're excited to have them on today.
That's right. They have a very interesting story of how they got to where they are today, where they're making candles. So I can't wait to hear all about their journey. We're excited to welcome our guests, Lee and Beth Wilson of Wisdom House. Welcome to Pocket Change.
thank you.
It's great to be here.
Okay, so for our listeners who don't know about your story, can you share a little bit about your journey with Wisdom House and entrepreneurship and reality TV?
Well, we've followed a pretty conventional path to entrepreneurship and locking people in rooms for fun and being on TV, running from the law. We met in college at Texas A&M, so we're both originally from Texas. I studied English. She studied communications. We fell in love, got married, moved to Louisville, Kentucky, where I went to seminary for a few years. Yeah, from there, we thought we were going to do church planting or ministry or something in that area, and ended up being invited to come in and take a job and interview for a job at Union University or in campus ministry.
Wow.
So that's how we ended up in Jackson, is just a friend asked us if we were interested in moving away from Louisville, and we decided to take the jump to start a family and start our life. And of course, worked in campus ministry and taught some classes and got to travel internationally and do a lot of really exciting things. And in the midst of all of that, accidentally started an escape room.
Yeah, it was about 6 years into our time at Union. Maybe 7 years, 6 years in.
Yeah, I mean, our life has always been crazy together. I mean, there have been so many unexpected twists and turns. We have never really had a plan that we have like stuck to and followed through to the end. There's always been some kind of interruption. So even moving into Jackson, we moved just in time for the tornado to come through.
Wow.
And hit campus, and that changed our jobs and changed our lives, and then we've just had these opportunities that have been completely unexpected. And to kind of answer the actual question that you asked about entrepreneurship, we became entrepreneurs completely by accident. We had a really good friend, Jared Downhauer, who is just one of those like creative nerds. I mean, just like ideas all day long. And one of his ideas was to start an escape room on campus for students at Union. And so he worked with some students to raise some money for RIFA, a local nonprofit. And he basically put together these escape rooms, and they were like super successful. And one day he and I were just having a meeting about something else that was going on in our lives. And I asked him a couple of questions about these escape rooms. And, I was kind of doing it like, sometimes like you'll have a friend that's really excited about something and you just have to entertain the conversation so you can move on to what you actually care about, And so we were having one of those chats where I was just letting him talk about his new toy, like this thing that he loved. He started to get my attention when he was like, yeah, we've had 800 people come and play these little rooms that we had on campus at Union.
And we were laughing about it because we were like, well, that's a lot of Union students. He was like, it's not Union students at all.
Really?
And we were like, wait, what? But who is coming to do this activity? He was like, oh, just people. And I was like, well, what people? Like, where did they, how did you get them there? Like, how did you get their attention? And he was like, well, we didn't. Like, they just kind of showed up. And I was like, wait. You got 800 people just to show up at Union without trying? Like, that's not normal. I mean, maybe things have changed and that happens all the time these days. But, like, back when we were having this conversation 8 years ago, that just didn't happen. And so suddenly, like, this part of my brain that's like, this is a mystery to be solved, got interested and started asking him more and more questions. And it turned into, instead of a conversation where I'm like kind of entertaining a friend's interests, it was like, it became my interest. And it became this like ongoing talk that we would have every time we'd run into each other. There was a new idea, a new concept, a new like beginning of a plan. And at a certain point, we just had to decide we're going to do it or we're going to stop talking about it. But in order to like execute the plan, we had to schedule a meeting with our wives.
That's right.
That's where you come in.
That's right. We were on a very lowly budget, but he was like, hey, I was thinking that we could take maybe $1,500 from our savings account and do this thing. And I'm like, we only have $1,500 in our savings account. But it just, this conversation came at a time where I'm sure you can relate, where you're in a job and you're either outgrowing the job or the job is changing, and it just becomes abundantly clear that you have got to make a change. And you're not quite sure if it's you or the job, but you can just feel it growing.
Right.
And so I should have said no. Like, we didn't have much to our name, but
I mean, it was absurd. Like, it was like we
had 2 kids, and I was like, that's fine. Let's just do it.
Aren't you so glad you said yes?
I think so, but I just remember, I'm sure you've had moments in your
yes.
life when you're like that, and you're like, it's honestly worth it. If this is like the jump that you need for health and just to be reinvigorated, there's a spark right now, and let's chase it.
That's
and
right.
so it was worth it.
There's a reason that seed was planted, right?
That's right. And the magic of what happened in the on-campus escape rooms just continued straight into what we were doing, because like, we really didn't actually have to take any money out of our account. It was kind of the situation where we put tickets out there live and people immediately started buying.
Right.
And so by the time we had any actual bills to pay, we already had funds coming in from people who wanted to play. And so it was just this like, whoa, okay, now we've got to like grab a hold of this thing and figure out what is it going to be. And that was kind of the story of the next year. Is, we had caught this bucking bronco of an idea, and we just had to figure out how to get on its back and hold on to it. And so a 1-week pop-up expanded to 3 weeks, and then we shut down because we had jobs and our bosses are like, hey, where have you been?
Back to work.
What's going on? And so we opened back up in the summer for about a month, got shut down by the fire marshal, which is its own whole other conversation, figured out how to relocate the entire business to downtown Jackson, where most people know us from the old Jackson Junior High School building.
Yeah.
And then pretty quickly, within 6 months from the original pop-up, we opened full-time, again, kind of by accident, because we had to relocate and we had to financially make it make sense. And then
It was within that year that you got the email.
I mean, within the first year, we had expanded from Jackson to Waco, Texas,
Wow.
and pretty soon after that, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And then in the middle of all of that, I got this email asking me if I wanted to be on a TV show.
I mean, just a random day.
I know,
just,
we
you
get asked about this a lot, and I'm like, we didn't apply. Like,
amazing.
it was just escape rooms were really at their peak when we got into it. It was very fortunate. And
Yeah, it was the right place, right time kind of situation. Escape rooms were kind of like popping off all over the country. They were pretty established in like LA and New York City and like the big cities, but were not as common in smaller communities. We were kind of one of the first in a community of under 100,000 people. And it got some attention, and we had to figure out like every step of the process, like building a website, doing the marketing. We figured out how to do Facebook ads. Like, we did all of what now feels like these small ball kind of things. But it made the business successful, and it made us decent at like getting in front of a camera and talking about what we were doing and like communicating what is an escape room to people. It just so happened that at that same time, the same crew that puts together Survivor and Amazing Race and Big Brother, all these big CBS TV shows, was interested in creating this show where normal everyday people partnered up and ran as fugitives from real life law enforcement, Secret Service, Navy SEALs, FBI, CIA, Homeland Security, like all of those letters. And, very serious people. I mean, one of the hunters that was primarily tasked with trying to chase me and my buddy Hilmar down is, to my knowledge, still the U.S. Marshal who has the record for capturing the most murderers in the history of the U.S. Marshals
And you
agency.
didn't murder anybody.
That's
No.
right.
Wow.
No. So anyways, there's this big idea happening for this show. And one of the casting directors played an escape room where she lived in Pittsburgh and walked out of it and was like, I just was in a confined space that somebody designed to keep me stuck in there. I had to figure it out and outsmart them. I wonder if a person like this would be successful as somebody running from the law. If they could take that skill set and kind of like turn it inside out and figure out how to escape the law and get out of there with $250,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
she sent us an email, and the subject line just said TV show. And it was from just a little Gmail account. And I read it,
Like,
and there
is
was
this
a link.
spam?
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
there was
yeah.
like a link to
Oh my
a press
gosh.
release about the
We're
show.
constantly telling people don't click on
Well,
the link.
Yeah.
well, okay, so
Click on the link.
so don't click on the link, but if it's legit, you should be able to find that
Yeah.
link
That's
from
right.
other
That's-
avenues
Sure.
Yes.
and then compare the two.
Yes.
And in our case, I did all the research, I did all the hunting, I found the press release by going through CBS.
You were hunting
it-
before you were even
That's
on the
right.
show.
That's right.
There's a reason I
Yeah.
was cast to be on the show.
Yeah.
So everything was legit. Like everything lined up, and I scheduled a phone call with Ellen, and we got on the phone, and her voice matched the YouTube clips that I had heard of her
That's
talking
plus.
about casting for Survivor. Yeah, we just hit it off. Like she loved us. She wanted me and Jared to come and be on the show. And so I talked to him. Jared mentioned it earlier, but he was our business partner with Escape Rooms. He had just gotten married, and it wasn't going to work out. And so I looked at Beth, and she was like,
No.
we got babies. That's not going to happen.
Like, I've seen The Amazing Race, and I see those couples, and I'm like, you don't want me. You don't want me on this with you.
So then I was kind of left knowing that, okay, these people want me to be on this show potentially. Who is the person that I will pick up the phone right now and call, and they'll be like, yeah, let's go. So I sent a text message to my friend Hilmar, and I was like, hey, man, what you doing? He's like, I'm sitting in this cafe playing chess. I think he was in Los Angeles at the time. And I was like, cool. Hey, I do you want to run from the FBI with me? And he's like, yeah, man, when do you want me to be there?
No questions.
And that's
awesome.
like him through. I mean, I knew from the beginning that he was like the perfect person to run from the cops with.
Yeah.
And it turns out he was.
I would like to go on the record and say I believe I've participated with my wife and friends at all the escape rooms at Jackson Escape Rooms
Oh,
That's
when
impressive.
they were
That's
there.
wonderful.
And we got out of all of them. So
Hey.
putting that on the record. It's out there now. It's going to be recorded. So there you go. Escape room, reality show. So Beth, I mean, what did you think about Lee going on a reality show and taking off being hunted? And
Well, like I said,
Yeah.
we didn't have a lot going on at the time. I mean, we did, but we just were at a place where we had nothing to lose. And so we had some conversations of like, what is the chances of you actually winning? Because we don't know about TV production. We don't know if it's rigged. So we just assumed we probably can't win this. So we'll probably get more returns if we're just memorable. So we had talked about it, and it was like, you go and have fun and just be the most memorable. Like, just have fun.
No pressure.
Yeah, pressure's off. Just like play the game and have fun, because there's so many moving pieces with producers and cameramen that it was a new show. You don't know. You don't know we didn't even get the game rules until 24 hours before.
Oh, wow.
But all along, what we knew strategically was just be memorable. So my thought was like, yeah, we know that we can't talk for 6 weeks. Even if he got off day one, he's going to be sequestered for 4 weeks for sure. So I don't know if he's won or not. So just go. We'll be fine. And
the plan was that we were not going to talk to each other the entire
my
time.
goodness.
yeah, we were not.
And you're back home with the kids.
Right,
right.
and they
Right.
were going to try to play up emotions. Do you miss him and all this? And I was like, I can play into that if it would be like a story.
And that was hard. It was hard that we were going to be separated
Yeah.
from each other. but not in the way that you might think. Like,
Yeah.
yes, we were going to miss each other. Yes, that was going to be difficult. But it's really more like the way that even Beth is talking about this right now is like, this is a we thing. Like, it was always a we thing. For the
Yeah.
8 months leading in to us actually doing the show, we were talking about it. Hilmar moved to our home to like, he's not from Jackson. We met when he was a student at Union, but he like moved back to Jackson for us to like work this thing strategically, like a
Wow.
full-time
Yeah.
job for 8 months.
Wow.
So we were like constantly talking about like ideas and approaches, and Beth was like in the mix. So like we were planning
That's right.
how to win this show. And then I was gone and we weren't able to talk to each other.
Yeah, I mean, they're calling me. They have surveillance on me. We've turned over all of our everything that you could, like, we turn it all over to the show. So they know everything about you.
Wow.
And it was just agreed, if we don't talk, there's literally nothing that you can tell them. So, yeah.
And to know that you had her support and you were in this together, there's really nothing to worry about.
And there
in those
also wasn't
weeks.
pressure of like, you better not come back without anything. It was just be memorable. That was like the mantra, be memorable.
Yeah, you can win the show by winning the show, but you can also win the show by being the one that is talking to everybody and that everybody's
Yeah.
interested
win
in
the
and
crowd.
curious about.
Right,
And
that's exactly right.
so
yeah.
that was really our strategy going in, is like, of course we want to win, but we want to be like the most memorable people. And that's what we did. I mean, we did
Yeah.
crazy
We did it.
stuff. And actually, for anybody that's seen the show, like, they know that Beth actually did get involved and was accidentally pulled into the action. And
It
we did
was
some
great.
like ridiculous stuff.
It
Like,
was fun.
we
It was
flew her
really
in
fun.
on a private plane.
Oh, wow.
And she was pregnant with our third child, and like announced to me that it was a boy, like on television.
So you were very
awesome.
memorable then.
I was just trying to, yeah. That's
We
right.
like we pranked the hunters. This wasn't on TV, so this is like a bonus cut because they didn't capture it on camera, so they couldn't obviously
You heard it
include
here
it in the
on
show.
the Pocket Change
Yeah,
podcast.
that's right.
Yeah.
But we actually lured the hunters to a cornfield, and when they went in to like interview these people that helped us, one of them came out of the cornfield and like slashed the tires on the hunter's vehicle, but because the camera didn't catch it, they couldn't include it in the show.
include it, yeah.
That was the kind of stuff we were trying to do.
Oh, wow.
We were,
Most people were on the run. They were on the offense.
That sounds like it.
Yeah, so I felt great about it. I felt great about it.
Okay, so you won. You won the crowd, but you also won the game. So how did it feel coming back home after winning? Were you like had this newfound inspiration?
Well, I mean, yes, very much so. But the show ends with us like running a very long ways down this highway in northern Georgia, carrying $250,000 of cash in clear plastic bags. So everybody assumes that we got on the plane, flew back to Jackson with the cash.
Take your clear plastic bag on the plane with you. Everyone can see
But
it.
we actually did not get a check of actual real money for about a year.
It was
Oh,
about
wow.
a year later. Yeah.
So we shot the show, it aired, and then about 2 months after the
It's
finale
90 days after
is
the
when they
finale.
cut us a check.
That's right.
Okay.
Wow.
And then we cut a big check to the government.
It's painful.
So the money piece
Thank
of
you.
it was like interesting. You expect to immediately be able to go and do some stuff and go to Disney, which we ended up doing, but we had to wait for a while before we could kind of capitalize on that opportunity from the show. But I think that, I mean, and really Beth is the one to speak better about this, but like being able to defeat 36 true professional manhunters that know how to track somebody on the ground. They know how to comb through your social network on Facebook and using other social medias. Like, they know how to process your bank accounts and like see how you spend money and where you spend money and like who your relationships, like who you're going to lean on in a difficult situation. Like, to be able to defeat that quality of person gives you a tremendous amount of confidence. The biggest thing that we took from the show was just the reality that I don't know anything. I'm a good guy. I've never broken the law in any significant way that I can remember. Hopefully nobody ever catches me otherwise. But we don't have any experience running from the law. We don't have any
Thankfully.
experience figuring out how to like outwit professional manhunters. But that's exactly what we figured out how to do when we were on the run on the show. And the fact that we had the wits and the capacity and the wherewithal to outsmart the CIA and Secret Service and the FBI and Homeland Security and Navy SEALs and U.S. Marshals and, all of these serious people. It just gives you a tremendous amount of confidence that whatever challenges lay before you, whether it's family or whether it's in business, that you can find a solution and ultimately prevail in whatever that may be.
Yeah, there was, at the same time while he was gone, I was also running the business, specifically our Waco location. We were moving from a smaller location to downtown where Magnolia and Chip and Joanna Gaines were. And it was really booming, except that our building wasn't ready. We'd moved out of our old one. We were in a rough spot. And I hadn't communicated any of this to Lee. We didn't have a way to talk. And so he got back, and there was this weight of like, I've got to tell him what's going on. And I just felt like it was going to be okay. He was like, I just feel like there's nothing that I can't figure out. It's the game piece of running a business is you move the different pieces to get different outcomes, and you have the confidence, like, I will figure this out.
It's amazing.
If I can outsmart Buck and Griff
That's right.
and win $250,000, then I can figure out Waco, Texas.
And so y'all figured that out, got that challenge overcome, and you've moved on to other ventures in y'all's life. And so we have Wisdom House now. So tell us about Wisdom House.
Right. So I was going to say up from the ashes, but that's not the case. We won the show in 2017-ish. And I was like, my main job from escape rooms, our kids were still fairly young, so I was kind of touch and go. But my main job was we would build a new room, which is a set. And it would be like, Beth, we have this fake arm and it needs to go inside a box. I'd get dimensions, and they're like, go find it. So you're on the marketplace, you're in thrift stores, and you're just searching for some really specific things. But you also see this really cute mid-century dresser that you're like, if I just had $100, I could flip this and bring home some money. And I was thinking, like, if I could just have $5,000, if we could set that aside, I think I could start something. And we'll call it Wisdom House, named after the street that we live on, Wisdom Street.
Okay.
There you go.
And
So at this point, she's like, Lee, remember when you came and asked about that $1,500 to start the escape rooms? Now I have an idea.
That's right.
And that's like really a window into how our marriage works.
Yeah.
Like we
Right.
take turns.
We do.
We
Great.
take
That's
turns
how
with
it
the
should be.
ideas. We
Yeah.
take turns with the big exciting things. So like my big exciting things were starting escape rooms. It was going on the show, and hers was stopping everything to run cross country at Union and get her MBA as a mother of two. It was starting Wisdom House, and we just go back and forth and make it work.
we do. So Wisdom House started out of that. We set aside $5,000, and Wisdom House started as like flipping furniture. And I remember at the time on the marketplace, there were all these groups that were selling a bunch of stuff. And I thought, these pictures look like somebody just took a picture in a room with a dark light. Like, if it would just be a little effort or a little curated.
Here's a lamp in my trunk.
Right.
Come buy it at Target.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I
Style
bet
it just
there's
a little.
something here. Like, there's people here looking for stuff. And so I just started flipping things and would sell them on Wednesdays about, I don't know.
I remember I bought stuff from you.
Wisdom House Wednesdays. And it was,
Yes.
it was so much
I would
fun.
literally wait, for the time, whatever time it was, 12, 1.
I think it
can't
was
remember.
noon. Every week I would be like, people came and they bought almost everything. But that's how it got started.
So we started with, mid-century modern furniture and cool glassware and vintage rugs and all these things that she would find
just the pretty things that you see.
on the marketplace.
And
then
Wisdom House existed in that concept about a year and a half until we found out we were pregnant with our third baby.
nope, fourth baby.
Oh,
Fourth baby. And something had to give at that point. You can't be on the back roads of Tennessee being like pregnant and you're just like,
Picking up furniture.
Yes. Yeah, that's
Right.
exactly right.
So you transitioned to candles. Is that the next transition?
That's
or?
pretty much the next transition. We took a little bit of time.
Timeline wise, at this point, we're like fall of 2019.
Yeah.
So that's when you found out that we were pregnant with Reed.
Nope. That's when we had Reed.
You're right.
Okay.
Let's
A lot has
revisit
happened,
the
right?
timeline.
Yeah.
I've got this.
Okay.
Okay, we transitioned to candles I started getting interested in them in around 2019 before our last baby was born.
Okay.
And really the thinking there was, I can't flip furniture forever.
Mhm.
And Lee and I had a serious conversation that was, you can't ever really grow this. It's only ever going to be as big as however many pieces you can put in the house. That's it. I was like, you're right. And I started looking at the numbers every week, and I was like, I only ever sell this much.
Oh, wow.
So it's just only going to be that big.
Mhm.
And we were pregnant, and I was like, I think I have to think of something else. And every home decor store, if you think about it, the thing that they sell that you take home is a candle. And I was like, I would love to make a candle. And honestly, flipping furniture, when you flip furniture, especially thrifted stuff, you sell it and people are like, tell me the story. And you're like, I can tell you the story from when I met the furniture, which
Yeah.
was I picked it up a month ago. I cleaned it up. Like, you just don't know the
Right,
history.
right.
And there's a piece of you that wants to be, I made it. I did this. This is the story. And it just was not there. So a lot of things were coming together that was like, I want to put myself into something. And candles was honestly just the next, it was just a thing. And jumping ahead a little bit, but that process took about a year to test and figure out.
You never made a candle before. So
Never
you're
made
figuring
a
it all
candle
out.
before.
Yeah.
I had a
Woke up one
friend
day
in
and-
Texas making them, and I bought some from her, and she told me a little bit, but no, it takes a while to figure it out. And this is about the time of fall of 2019, right before COVID. We had to
Oh,
make
wow.
some big decisions. I just lost a father. We just had a baby.
So there was a lot of things percolating in our life. And then at about that same time, at the end of 2019, kind of October, November, is when I started to think about, like, okay, we have these escape rooms. At this point, I think we had 6 escape rooms, Jackson, Waco, and then 4 in Middle Tennessee. And I just was like looking and doing the math and thinking about like these rental contracts that we had. And just going, I don't feel comfortable. On paper, like, we're going to have to pay over $500,000 in rent to somebody in the next 2 years. And I'm not in, like I'm not physically in some of these places to be able to be directly involved in making decisions that need to be made for it to be successful. And so at that point, like, I was starting to question some of our partners, not integrity, not any of that kind of stuff. Like, I love the people. We're still friends that we worked with. They're great, great people. But just strategically, I was starting to lose some confidence in the direction that they were wanting to go with the businesses that they were overseeing. And I just decided, like, I think I'm ready to be out. Like, I think I'm ready to pull away from owning something in Waco or owning something in Murfreesboro. Like, I'm tired of being the one that gets in the car or gets in the plane to go and have a hard conversation with the landlord, and I'm just kind of over that. And so in December 2019, we basically said, like, hey, we want to go our separate ways. Let's figure out a buyout deal. And January 2020, we got the check. And pretty soon after that, we found out about a little thing called COVID-19.
Yeah,
and
pandemic.
the
Wow.
pandemic
Just decided to hit.
Yeah.
began.
Yeah, we closed on everything like the last week of 2019.
Wow.
Wow. Talk about
Good
perfect
timing,
timing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then what happened?
Well, then we just had the Jackson location. And so the Jackson location was enough to provide for us. But again, like, we were aware that this was it was a peak, and now it was just going to be what it
Yeah,
was
it's a
going to be.
fad business. You know,
Yeah.
like escape rooms are a fad business. Now, I think there will always be a place for them. Like, there's always going to be somebody that wants to go and do putt-putt. There's always going to be somebody that wants to go do laser tag. Like, there are these things. Yeah, like,
Right.
there are these things that come along, and they have their moment, but because it's a fad, too many people get in,
Right.
and not all of them are going to make it. And so, yeah, we just kind of decided that we wanted to have a smaller profile and back away from that business and figure out what was going to happen next. And at the same time, we have that realization, and Beth is having the realization that being a pregnant lady / mother with infant is not a good look for going and picking up furniture all around
Yeah.
Tennessee. that's when the pandemic happened. And that's when we had to sit down and have a hard conversation and say, okay, we've got a little bit of money from selling these businesses. How long will this last? Will we figure out what's next?
There was like
and
a clock.
Who is going to be the person in this family that can really carry the weight of making money when the world is shut down? And locking people in rooms for fun is a great service and skill to the community, but it doesn't translate well into the online world, like the lockdown world that we're all living.
Not during a pandemic, no one wanted to be in the same room together.
That's right.
No.
And Beth Wilson is a incredibly gifted person. Everything that she does works. I mean, I always say that she is omnicompetent. Like everything that she does, she is good at. And if she is not satisfied with how good she is at it naturally, she is going to work harder than anybody else to figure out every single aspect of that thing. And she's going to master it. That's basically what happened during the pandemic. Is I took over all of the household responsibilities and learned firsthand how grueling it is to be the primary caregiver and cleaner. And it was a very humbling process for me. And we basically let Beth.
Yeah. Yeah, I was testing candles still, and it wasn't finished yet. And I was like, we have to figure out a way to make some money because I'm here. I was like, Lee, how much money do we have? Can we make it till April? He was like, we can make it till April. I'm like, can we make it to June? He's like, June will be tight. I'm like, can we make it to July? He's like, I don't know. So all along, you're kind of checking in that year because at the time, if you remember, we didn't know how long the lockdown was going to be.
Right.
But our livelihood was gone. And so I was like, what's the easiest thing that I can figure out how to do? And I opened an Etsy shop and just started selling some print-on-demand items that I just put them out there. But the reason that I did that was I was like, there's a marketplace, kind of like with Wisdom House, how it started. There's a marketplace of people looking to buy something. How can I create a product that fits that market? And just teaching myself, it wasn't candles at the time, but it was just teaching myself the skill. That's really how it got started, and that sustained us for a year.
Meanwhile, you're perfecting the candles.
Meanwhile, in the background, I'm like, is this the right wick? Is this? And then people like you are like, you said that you're like day one.
I have been in it from the beginning, I feel like, with you guys. I remember the pandemic, stories that you would post and the whole process. It was really fun to see you guys thrive through this.
I didn't tell anybody that I was doing this print-on-demand stuff. I was like, this is unimportant. It'll confuse people. But I did show people the candle process. And it was like, well, when are you going to sell these? And I was like, I don't know. And at some point...
We could not wait, though. That's what you did. You created that
demand,
I didn't mean
that
need.
It
was like we couldn't wait.
And honestly, it was the pandemic. We couldn't get glass. And so I started with concrete. Like, how can I control this process?
A big reason that was such a major factor for us, like that we wanted to control every aspect of the supply chain in creating our own product, is that one of the things that we ran into with the Etsy shop and t-shirt design is that there was a point around Mother's Day of 2020 when everybody was buying their mom a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or whatever. And it was also at that same point in time that there were just like boats and boats and boats lined up in the Pacific Ocean waiting to come through and unload their containers. And our t-shirts were like in the boats. So we had like 1,000 orders lined up that we could not fulfill.
Hard to make money. And you finally get some orders in and you're like, they're coming. I can't. Just having your hands, you can't control it.
And we just decided that when it came to the next thing, candles, like we wanted to control
every step. Yeah, we didn't want to outsource anything, and we still run the business like that now. If we don't have to outsource it, we won't.
That's wonderful.
And yeah, we launched the candles officially in 2021.
Okay.
I believe.
Well, I just have to say, for our listeners who aren't in this room with us, the candles smell amazing. So we have some set up on our table, and I mean, it smells so good in here.
That's great.
This is the best it's ever smelled.
Thank you.
Talk a little bit about the success you've had with Wisdom House and the candles.
It's been great, but we're all in on
It
Wisdom
is
House. Yeah, we closed the escape rooms in 2023. We closed Jackson. It was a real turning point of like, we can continue this thing, which is enough to provide probably for a single family, but it's not going to grow. But it will take a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Or there's life in this thing that's kind of unknown. So are we ready to jump ship and just be all in? And we made that transition in the summer of 2023. And there has been a ton of growth, and along with growth is growing pains.
All the challenges. Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
I never get to like talk about this, but I really am proud of like what we have built. It has come from out of our basement in a room that was probably 150 square feet. And now we are in a studio that's about 4,000 square feet, and we are trying to figure out how to stay there as long as possible. One of my employees asked me last week, like, are we going to have to move? And I'm like, we're going to stay here as long as we can. But our growth, I think we grew close to about 200% last year.
That's wonderful.
Wow.
And then we're hoping to hit $1 million in sales this year. It's been dependent on what our slow season will be, and right now we're in our slow season. And I think our staff would tell you we're busy. So I'm very, very thankful, but the growth that we experienced last year was really hard. There's a lot of lessons that you learn with that, and I have an MBA. I should know these things, but when you are like not taking an investment, when you're not taking out a loan, and you are just bootstrapping your own growth, 200% in a year is too much. And so there's a lot that has come out in the past year that I'm like, if we don't slow the growth to like a manageable scale, we will cannibalize like our profits. Like it just...
Yeah, cannibalize our profits, our systems will break down, like our people will break down.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had some like real crunch points.
Yeah.
You know, I think about, we had a huge order of 35,000 candles,
Whoa.
not this past November, the November
2023.
beforehand, 2023. And like we barely made it through. Like it was very, very, it was huge.
You've got to buy the supplies on your summer profits for 30. Like all of these things, you're like, how do businesses grow?
How long does it take to make one candle?
One candle all the way through. Well, there's like you touch it, it cures. You do this,
Oh,
it
so
cures.
You've got to watch the
Yeah.
story.
Oh, yeah,
Shay.
yeah.
I would
We'll have
say
to link them.
I don't know. Hands on a candle. I'm trying to cut that time down so we can get them in and out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Ideally, they cure for a few days, and then you ship them, and it's got at least a week and a half under its belt before you're like, I'm ready to light it. Yeah.
I remember watching your kids help you with all of that in the stories too. So I think it's just great how you, as a family, have built and grown this business. But speaking of growth, since we are a financial podcast, I do have to ask you guys, what's the best financial advice that you've been given?
Thought about this.
I did think about this. I have two things.
Okay.
On the way here in the car, I was like, they're going to ask this question. I could go one of two ways. So I would
Go
say,
both ways. Tell us
okay,
whatever you want.
the first is to hedge your bets. As an entrepreneur, or from the outside looking in, it's like that's a risk taker. Like the only way that you're successful is if you go all in.
Yes.
And I would say that has not been the case for us. Every step that we've made, we've been like, why don't you keep the job at Union a little longer? Okay, now we're going to jump to candles. Why don't we keep the escape rooms a little longer? Like you're just kind of building in a little bit of a financial buffer in case a pandemic hits.
Right.
Sure.
And then the other thing I would say, this is what we're living right now, is just if you want to build a long-term business and you don't want to take out a ton of money to do it, capital to do it, you got to slow the growth. And so our goals this year are to try to grow about by 30%. I listened to a podcast and it was like, this is our target. And I was like, that's a great number. I can do like 30%. And so just kind of figuring out what levers in the business, how much like I do have a lot of control.
It's wonderful advice.
And just slowing it a little
Yes.
bit. You don't want to be miserable. We've been at jobs where we got burned out. And this is like, we're in our 40s. This is
more than a job. This is your life.
This is our life. That's right.
And you
That's
like
right.
it, so you want to be able to
We
continue
do.
to enjoy
Yeah,
it.
you need to protect it. I don't know how many more pivots you and I have. I'm sure that there
We
will
will
be
pivot
others.
as many times as we need to pivot to get it
bet
done.
one.
Come back in a year and we'll see what all you guys have done in a
Anything
year's
is
time.
possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, my answer to the question is not really advice that I was given. It's more a realization that I had. And it's the best investment that I can make is to give Beth whatever money she needs to do whatever idea
listen
she
to her.
has. And it will work.
That's so sweet.
We'll see what ideas come from the people hearing this podcast. They'll be
Yeah.
calling you like, Beth, here's this idea. And so the last question that we have is also, it's financial related because it's the Pocket Change podcast. So if you had any extra change in your pocket, what would you spend it on?
I know my answer. Do you
Oh, I'm going straight to the coffee shop.
Okay.
Probably because I'm a spender, not a saver. If I was a saver, I would save it up for like a good bottle of whiskey, maybe.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think that what realistically happens is I find some money in a side pocket. I put it in my wallet, and then it just makes me feel good. And then I justify
money.
a DoorDash
Yes.
purchase
Oh,
that I
DoorDash,
didn't
yes.
need. And then I'm like, it somehow balances out. Like the money's still in my
Yes.
pocket.
Girl math, right?
Girl math. It got debited, but it balances
Yeah.
out. So DoorDash.
Yes, I love it.
Well,
I want to
we're-
know what kind of coffee you're ordering though.
Oh, turntable iced coffee.
Okay.
Every time. No cream, no sugar. Just if it's good coffee, you don't need that stuff.
And what we're going to do with our pocket change is buy a candle.
That's
Oh,
right.
And so where can we get them?
Because it
What's
smells
the
so
website?
good.
You can get them online at wisdomhouseco.com.
Okay.
That's where all of our concrete stuff is. There's a few of like our custom candles. You can check out our Etsy shops, Wisdom House Co. on Etsy.
Nice.
And then hopefully in the future we'll be on some more platforms. Remember, slow growth.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Check them out there. We
That's
appreciate
right.
it.
Yeah. Well, we thank you guys for being here with us today. It has been such a joy to talk about your journey and how you got to where you are today.
Oh, thank you guys
Yeah.
for having us.
Yeah.
We've had a great time. Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to the Pocket Change Podcast.
Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe and check out our full episodes on YouTube,
The Pocket Change Podcast is brought to you by Leaders Credit Union.
where we power your passion and make lives better. Cha-ching! Leaders is federally insured by the NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
Learn more at leaderscu.com.